Welcome to Blended Healing. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use. We are at this time of the year where depression is more prevalent than ever. In the month of November, I was just telling somebody this today, all kinds of shenanigans fall out between death, accidents, incarcerations, lack of tools at our disposal, money's funny, all types of shit happens in the month of November. But depression, for the women in the United States, it is twice as likely to have depression more than men. Depression strikes at least 1 in 4 girls by the time they reach the age of 14. And depression usually goes often undiagnosed by doctors because of the physical symptoms, which are part of depression, get separated out by the doctor and the patient. You see, physical symptoms of depression is pretty much undetectable. And it's in contrast because some of us women who are depressed have high energy levels and are super productive, and they're involved in everything simultaneously, emotionally. And people think that they're being controlling and that they're extroverts. And it looks like they're too excited to be depressed, but they are. Some people move a little bit more slower. They are chill. They speak less or not at all. and some even do less. And the day is just a day, nothing special. Nothing brings joy or brings little joy. And then people think that they're introverts. Nope. It could be depression. And either those physical symptoms still hurt. And many of us women have learned to code our negative emotions by describing our physical state instead. We describe our sad, mad, bad state because who cares anyway? And we can just become just plain disconnected from the sad, the mad, the bad emotions. But what ends up happening is that that depression comes through either in the neck, the head, the stomach, or somewhere else. Because those are the physical conditions that are really happening. And we lack a connection to emotions in the vocabulary because we cannot put into words what exactly that we're feeling. But then we have somebody around us who is, expressive, able to communicate the whole picture and physical and emotional, and that everything is great. And then that makes us feel even worse. Sometimes the physical coding can be learned through dysfunctional family systems or culture or education or even spiritual cultures. It can be learned when we're being bullied. It can be learned when there's a secret, like addiction, that drives communication underground. Some of us just say it's stress. But there's a big difference between symptoms of hurt and stress. Because depression is screaming out through physical symptoms and they linger a little bit longer. And some of the things that get misdiagnosed when we're depressed is headaches. And they become worse when you're depressed. The other thing is chronic back pain. People with low back pain usually have a high prevalence of depression. And people with depression have a higher likelihood to have low back pain. Just like the general population. Sometimes you get chest pains because of stress and anxiety. And they manifest as a chronic chest pain, digestive problems, nausea, queasiness, chronic constipation, or even diarrhea, exhaustion and fatigue. Make even the smallest activity that you do, like even getting out of bed, too difficult to manage. Sleeping problems. People with insomnia have a higher risk of depression. But depression can also trigger sleep problems, a change in your appetite. You don't want to eat as much. And then you unintentionally start losing weight. But on the other hand, It can also have an increase in appetite, which makes you gain weight. So you can't win for losing. What about the dizziness and the lightheadedness? Because that can also contribute to vertigo or being dizzy or feeling unbalanced. But here's what I know, or I've come to learn, is that depression looks different for Black women. You ain't know that, did you? You see, a Black woman's experience looks very much like other people, but a different version of it. You see, depression or depressive disorder is described as having a common mental disorder. And depression shows up for Black women while trying to get ahead in their careers, trying to heal generational trauma while resting in other seasons of our life. But the reality is that more understanding about what to look out for in depression can drastically affect a Black woman's collective mental wellness. Understanding how to heal depression and how Black women are battling depression. You see, we have a stigma over us, and that's the superwoman or the super Black woman, and other cultural and spiritual stigmas that we have. You see, that that superwoman syndrome increases the risk of mental health issues like depression. And Black women don't allow their minds and bodies to rest properly. You see, the pressure to appear okay, despite feeling overwhelmed, adds extra stress to an already changing situation. And Black women in the healthcare systems are not always treated properly because the healthcare system historically ignored or neglected the Black woman, which explains why we may be less likely to engage in spaces of vulnerability. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Let's talk about the rise about the historical and the current gender racism and the misogyny that Black women have mastered code switching, masking and suppressing emotions to make those people around them feel more comfortable and for them to appear less threatening and aggressive. Depression in Black women go undetected due to the systems that fail and overlook them. Depression is harder to spot in Black women because depression amongst us is a more private experience because we opt to focus on other complaints when meeting with doctors instead of talking about our mental health concerns because we have to stay strong, right? And Black women are not always likely to prioritize their mental health complaints. And Black women do not always present the symptoms that are laid out. Because according to statistics, the common symptoms of suicide or reduced functioning, or feeling sad, down, depressed, apathy, feeling worthless, and inability to concentrate and make decisions. Black women internalize the strong Black woman or superwoman schism and may not identify with those symptoms because of cultural conditioning and the necessary things that we have to go through that's demanded of us, that we remain productive and high functioning and have and make important decisions. We ain't got time for depression because society may blame us for suppressing the signs of depression. The strong Black woman stereotype is undeniable because that has an intergenerational consequence on Black women's mental health. The stereotype of Black women perpetuates the narrative that Black women must possess an endless reserve of strength and persevere regardless of whatever life throws at us. And let's not forget about the stigma surrounding mental health conditions within our Black community all by itself, because that stagnates and completely prevents us the recognition and treatment of depression. You feel me? So what does depression look like for a Black woman? I'm so glad you asked. The diagnosis is that you have to look beyond the physical symptoms and look into the mental ones. And it comes down to the way that a Black woman may speak about their symptoms. The language that Black women use to describe symptoms can be different from what other women express. Instead of depression symptoms or suicidal intention and feelings of worthless, we may say things like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I need to get myself together. Or I feel like I'm a failure. And the physical symptoms like insomnia, fatigue, decreased sex drive, high blood pressure, headaches, any gastro issues, or weight fluctuations. Women don't talk about that much, especially Black women with depression. They report on the emotional symptoms, including self-hate, self-blame, irritability, hypervigilance, and anger. Being able to understand and to comfortably articulate all of the symptoms is how depression becomes more visible and in turn easier treated. Black women can support themselves in several ways while relearning how to navigate depression from their lived experience. We have the ability to go to an in-person or even get on online resources and platforms that are dedicated to Black women wellness and connecting to a community or even a licensed therapist who understands our culture is a huge support. So don't let it be no more superwoman or strong Black woman. Put an end to that bullshit. I know that can't be done overnight, but it's worth addressing and unlearning to alleviate that stress. That gendered racism forces Black women, forces us to be strong, independent, and resourceful. And if we do that, it prevents us the vulnerability and the ability to seek help. If we can just be freed from that, we Black women can support our mental health by setting boundaries, not taking on responsibilities that are not ours, asking for help, and challenges those who attempt to set unrealistic expectation on our time, our health, or even our contribution. A lot of support can come from incorporating habits that can help us by writing things down, by doing more physical activity, by eating well-balanced diet, by spending time outside when we can. This could be a part of your own self-care practice. And God knows we need to set more healthy boundaries. We need to prioritize our mental wellness too. And that comes by acknowledging the ways that us Black women may compartmentalize our health. Being emotional, physical, and spiritually well is about prioritizing health entirely, where we can learn that there is a connection between the mental and physical health. But us Black women would be a lot better and will be better if we can just prioritize our mental health. Ashe? All right. I'm done. I'm done. Let's get it together. We can do this. You ain't got to have everybody all up in your business. But if you have a sister, you have a keeper, then talk to them and tell them how you're feeling. And let's get out of this stigma together, okay? All right. Thank you for stopping by Blended Healing. Be well, stay safe. Ashe and deep bow to each and every one of you. I'm pulling for you, sis. I'm pulling for you. I shall see you all very, very soon.